And do you think our creativity is being limited and the country's creativity is being squashed because of that system?
Yes. Because it really builds foundations, even if you don't realise it now. Who knows, in 5 years' time, someone might come back to, who's left Sprung now, come back in 5 years and goes, I've done this in my life, thank you so much, and it's because you guys gave me the confidence to do it.
I hope you feel proud, because you smashed it out of the park. I'm really, really proud of you. Yeah.
And I am never, ever disappointed in the absolute creativity, joy, life-enhancing brilliance of young people when they come together.
This isn't like a normal youth group.
Highly Sprung does things in a way that is just so magical.
Where's the effing creativity? Thank you very much. I've been practicing.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Mark.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
We find ourselves doing another podcast, but although we have been looking at, over the past few weeks, interviewing different people, finding out what their creativity is and how their creative processes sort of develop and have developed throughout their career. Mm-hmm. And we've always ended that question with, or ended the podcast with the question, what's your effing creativity?
Correct.
So I think that maybe this time we deliberately talk about what the F is. And we'll make it really clear. Yeah.
One F.
And it's a particularly important F for us, isn't it?
Yes.
And what is that F?
We're going to be talking about funding. And we have invited some very special guests who I think have been impacted by the funding that Highly Sprung has received, but also are part of the funding world or work with us and know how funding is hard to come by. But some really special people who are going to give us a really kind of holistic insight into funding and the world of Highly Sprung, because I think there is a lot of creativity involved in funding.
There has to be.
There does, especially when there is no funding.
Yeah, quite often you have to stretch that elastic band to the moon and back with funding, and that actually, I think quite often people see it as like a handout, mm-hmm. or as something that is
easily given.
Yeah, and that handouts are there for the taking. And I think, tell us about it, because you are the fundraiser.
Should we start with our usual start?
Oh my goodness.
Mark is in the habit recently of just diving straight into the deep end, forgetting to eat, the most important part, the part that everyone listens for. They just turn it off after this bit. Yeah, they just want to hear the title.
Just my angelic tones.
The title.
Welcome everyone to
Where's the effing creativity? There you go. Now we can start.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing a series of short podcasts across this week, all about funding, the big F in creativity. And we are really motivated to do this because we've been given a special opportunity. This year, we have been accepted to be part of the Big Christmas Give. So there's a big organisation called the Big Give who do multiple different giving campaigns throughout the year where they match fund charities like ours with organisations who are going to double donations. So it's a big week for us because it's an opportunity to double every donation that is made by members of the public. So this is not us going to trusts or foundations or anything like that. We are asking people who really just love the work of Highly Sprung to give us a donation with the potential of it then being doubled.
And that's a big opportunity, isn't it? So tell us what that could mean for Highly Sprung.
Well, we're looking to raise £2,500. So in total, that could be £5,000 raised. And I think in the big scheme of things, we have quite a big team of people that we look after throughout the year. Everyone in the arts deserves to be paid for what they do, and we make sure that people are paid. So this money is not going towards salaries. We raise that in different ways. This money is going to go directly to the young people that we work with. So it will be invested into new projects and some of the new touring work that is coming out next year. So with a real target to try and get out and give more young people the chance to see our work and take part in it.
So if I can be that devil's advocate.
I feel like I'm the one being interviewed here.
Well, I quite like it. I like that.
You're taking the power.
The power dynamic is shifting. So what
is it because you feel that funding is my department?
Well, it is. You are you are Highly Sprung's fundraiser. You are one of our chief fundraisers. You write the funding bids along with sort of Pandora, who we work with as well. So
I do think, though, if you're genuinely saying that fundraising is creative, do you not feel that you've got a big part to play in that?
I think that funding... Oh, you just flipped it. You are talented. I think you said something earlier, which was the big F is really important in creativity. Actually, part of me was like, oh, that doesn't feel right. Ooh. Because actually, I think funding allows creativity to blossom. I think funding allows creativity to be showcased and to be given a platform. But, you know, so many of our young people are creative, but they don't go out and get funding. And it's a tricky one. It's a fine balance. So what I'm interested in, as I try to take the balance back and ask a question back,
such a power dynamic,
is actually what is it? What is the landscape like at the moment in 2025 for a non-regularly funded arts organisation?
Yeah. So we don't get any core funding. We don't receive any large amount of funding regularly from any body, any trust or foundation. So each year we are tasked with raising all of the funds that we need to employ our staff and to deliver the projects that we deliver to kind of meet the needs of all the young people who we hope to kind of bring into the fold as part of our projects in that year. It's a big target. It's ambitious, and it feels like it grows every year, partly because things get more expensive every year. Partly because we want to make sure that we are a fair organisation, so that we're paying people properly and people are given kind of the financial value that they're worth for their creativity. This year, I don't know why. I honestly feel it's been harder than ever before. And I don't know whether that's because things are more expensive, so we're asking for more. But I just feel like we're constantly getting back that message from more funders, which is due to the volume of applications and highly competitive, nature of the round, you haven't been successful. And it feels sometimes like what we are doing and the impact that we're having on young people isn't enough. And I think that's a really negative mindset to be in. And I fight that on a really daily basis, because I know that the impact we have on young people is enough. Huge. I feel it, and I'm very heart-driven by that.
But we're a very different arts organisation. We don't just create art or performance. We work with children and young people. We engage with our local community. We make sure that our art or our performances are accessible to as many people as possible for free.
Yeah.
And that is important to us.
I think we sit in a difficult place between, we're not just a performance making organisation. We don't just make work and tour. And I think that's getting more difficult. I know that raising funds through ticket sales is not as easy as it maybe once was either. So there's a much bigger kind of economic situation at play, which we know probably is quite political.
Yeah.
But we sit between that kind of performance making organisation and community based organisation, where we are in between. We're working with young people to engage them in the performance making process, or to see performance, or to be part of helping to shape performance. They are producers, they're audience, they're participants, and it isn't kind of one thing or another. So I think sometimes the story of our impact can get a little bit blurry. We're definitely not asking people to help us to make a performance. We are asking for people and trusts and foundations to invest in the relationship that we will develop with young people through creativity, and that we know that relationship will enable them to change somehow. And I think you always talk about, even if we just put a smile on one child's face, that's enough.
Yeah. And do you know what? I don't envy any grant manager. And we are lucky enough to have sat down with Siàn.
We have.
And Siàn is a grant manager. She's one of our trustees.
Yes, so we're doubly lucky.
But we're also triply lucky in the fact that Siàn is also an ex-member of our youth group. Mm-hmm. And she was with us
for a long time.
She was.
Was it like 14 years?
Yeah, 14, 15 years.
Which was amazing. So she's gone on to have this incredible career as a grant maker, and it was really refreshing for me as someone who writes all of our grants to kind of hear from somebody who receives those grants and to understand the processes that are attached to making those decisions.
So this is what Siàn had to say about the funding landscape.
And her big F.
Yeah.
Funding. It's all about funding.
Yeah, big question. Big question. I've been thinking about this because I think the funding space lacks a lot of creativity. I think it's one of the issues with funding is that I am a grant manager, and I think grant managers are kind of told that feeling and creativity is not a part of the process. And I think that creates really rigid systems that don't adapt, which we're seeing, I think, now in philanthropy more broadly, that people are calling for philanthropy to be a lot more radical than it is and to take a lot more risks. And it can't, because people aren't like able to be creative in those spaces. Mm. And I think it's something I've really found difficult with entering into kind of full-time grant making, is that inability to like change systems and use creativity to do it. And I think it creates a lot of issues in the space, because it means that for me, creativity, I think I'd say I'm quite a creative person. I think Highly Sprung really like helped me find that and really taught me the value of being creative and kind of like allowing my emotions to come through creativity. And I think when I moved into grant making, I felt really squashed. I felt like I couldn't bring out new ideas or things that I wanted to change, and it creates a lot of tension. And I think for me, a big reflection is that like we need more creativity in grant making and philanthropy in general, because we have amazing organisations that like don't fit our criteria just because our criteria have been what they have been for a long time, or we have grant makers who are supposed to be really relational humans but are told that they can't be because of the process that we sit behind. And I think for me that's like creativity is at the heart of that, of like how can we rebuild the system so that we can be humans and we can have really honest conversations, because it's important to do that.
I was going to say, I really love that. And it's interesting for me to hear you say that we have to remove feeling and creativity from decision making. And I think when we write applications, I think we put a lot of feeling into it, and we really want you to feel what the impact is going to be. So that's really interesting.
I was going to pull up on what you were saying, because I know that recently we've been working with different organizations, and we're trying to sell a vision and trying to explain what this creativity and what this process may look like. And actually those purse strings are being held by people who possibly don't understand or can't see that vision. And do you think that we're in a position at the moment where funding is tight? There is less money going round. The cost of everything is going up, but the pots of money are becoming smaller. And do you think our creativity is being limited and the country's creativity is being squashed because of that system?
Yes. Honestly, 100%. I think that like when I'm sitting in like decision making spaces and funding, the questions that we ask are so rigid, and like they need to be, because it's a tricky one, because you want your process to be fair, you want it to be equitable, you kind of want to take some of the feeling out of it, because you want to be able to do that. But then we are also talking about organizations that like do this because they love it, right? And they do it because they see it as a real need, and it's like a part of who they are. That's what drives them. So I think when you take out the like feeling and you take out that creativity and that space, you create like this weird tension that is really difficult. And it's difficult, I think, for grant makers to hold too, because a lot of people in philanthropy and in funding are there because they care very deeply about the work, right? They're there because they want to fund amazing work. And instead they're having to turn down amazing organizations time and time again. And that's really hard. And I don't want this to be like, woe is the grant maker, because they sit in a very privileged space. But I think it is a really difficult situation. And like, we have to have really hard conversations about organizations that when we have calls with them, we see how brilliant they are and we see how amazing it is. But you can't fund everyone. And I think that's a real, as the purse strings get tighter, I think it's just becoming really difficult to navigate that balance. And it's becoming hard on every space. And I think I've been doing a lot of reflecting because I'm coming out of full-time grant making, and like, it was a real privilege, and I'm very grateful for the learning and the people that I've met. But I feel a bit of a sigh of relief because I'm such a relational person. I love connections. I love building community. And in grant making, I had like swung the other way, I think, because I was like, I don't want to give people the wrong impression. I don't want people to think they're going to get money and they're not, just because I'm like an animated, like,
nice person.
Nice person. And I think it's a real tricky balance, and we're seeing a lot of tension with it at the moment.
She's good, isn't she?
She's really good.
I just love her honesty, but also it felt really kind.
But also she's really innovative in her thinking as well, and the idea of fundraising and writing applications is not creativity, and we need to put that creativity back into that process, which is really nice.
And I think, as I said, I definitely always put heart. I would hate it if I became a robot and just thought, oh, here's how to meet the criteria.
But that is something that, we're going to have to start really
You think I should become a robot?
No.
He thinks I should be a funding robot.
Just churn it out, Sarah. What I was thinking more was that we have to put more heart into it, particularly with the rise of AI.
That's what you're good at, though.
Yeah.
The heart bit.
Yeah, don't try and give me that responsibility.
You do!
Don't.
Honestly, as somebody who kind of gets your scripts fresh off the press, I have many moments where I'm like, I don't know where this is going, and then I'm like, oh, and it gets you right in the heart. And I think young people experience that in your work too, so you take that.
Thank you, I will. I'll take it and run.
We're trying to be nice to each other because we're talking about funding and it's making us both sweat.
So, okay, let's imagine it's a perfect world, it's a wonderful world, and we get that envelope through and it says, congratulations.
Oh my God, you are so old school. We don't... No, to be fair, we do sometimes get envelopes, but mainly it's email, which feels a little bit even more like they can't be bothered to say anything more than soz.
Okay, well, we get an envelope or a electronic envelope with a congratulations.
Woohoo!
You have got funding. What's the next process?
Well, first of all, we usually do a little dance around the office, and if we had a bell, we would ring one. Any small amount to any large amount makes all the difference in the world. It goes into the cash flow, and everyone's a bit happier about how ends are going to be met. So it's very wonderful. But more importantly, we know then we have a job to do, and we have a project to shape and design. And the first thing that we do is go to our youth advisory board.
And they are a group of young people. Oh my goodness, we've got quite a...
14
members.
Brilliant young people.
From the age of 14?
14 to 19.
And they meet 3-4 times a year?
4 times a year.
And I'm so glad I'm up with all the details. And they help us make those decisions.
Yeah, and they've been brilliant. And sometimes we go to them even before we put in for funding. So they might be part of helping to shape the actual funding application. So they're part of the project development from its very first moment of what could we do with this money to we've got the money, how are we going to make sure that the impact is as great as it can be? And they are brilliant at doing that. Should we hear from some of them?
Yeah. Okay,
so we were really pleased to invite 3 members of our youth advisory board who've served for, I think this is their 4th year and one of them their 2nd year. So Libby, Lucy and Nell, to tell us just what happens and how the Youth Advisory Board are involved in shaping our projects. So what is it like when you are approached as the Youth Advisory Board and told there's either a funding project that we can apply for, or that money's come in that we'd like you to help shape how it's delivered?
I think it's quite exciting. Scary because it could sometimes feel like a lot of pressure, but knowing that we've been given that money and that opportunity, it's really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's cool to think kind of that we're sort of know about a project from when it starts. Like, it hasn't even become a thing yet, but just the idea that like there is a possibility of something happening, and being able to shape that first thing and then see how it develops into kind of an actual event, like something like the play day, where it's like we saw all the way through the process. Like, I think it's exciting to imagine what it will go on to be.
All right, where should money go? Where should money that comes into Highly Sprung go?
No, it obviously needs to go to like the community, and I think that's one of the biggest things with Highly Sprung, is that you're always giving back to the community and finding ways that you can bring the community into the arts, and I think that's where like the foundation of it needs to always come from.
Yeah, I think making the arts accessible, because I think so much of the work that Sprung makes is like on sort of outdoor theatre, or made that it's easy to come and see, and I think making sure that the arts is being invested in, but in an accessible way, is so important, because that's how everyone can experience it.
And diversity is obviously such a big thing with Highly Sprung, and allowing the widest audience to be able to see and experience Highly Sprung, I think is really important.
I love those three.
They're very good at what they do.
They're brilliant.
They keep us on our toes.
Absolutely.
Love the challenge back.
And also just the, you know, we can talk about how they keep us on their toes, but actually the
Keep us on our toes.
On our toes. But the benefits for them as well as young people, and, you know, Nell using the words like minutes and note taking, and being aware of those skills that all boards have to have up and down the country, and we're almost professionalising those young people and giving them that opportunity, that work experience of being part of a board, not just an arts
but
board.
developing their confidence to know that they can be, like their voice is valuable, and if they choose to join a board as a trustee in their future, that they know they can do it. Yeah. Brilliantly, all three of those young people are also part of our Sprung Youth group, our youth group who meet weekly and do weekly workshops with us to make performance and explore all things physical theatre. So some of them have been with us for a very long time as well.
A very, very long time,
which is lovely. It's such an honour and a privilege to see young people's journey from like the age of 4 all the way through to when they, you know, go off into the wider world.
That is a real privileged position. I don't know if we always realise it, but actually for some of those young people, we've just always been part of their lives. And sometimes I take a moment, I take a step back, and it's just a real joy and a privilege to have been part of their development and their growth, and knowing that I've been part of their lives for such a long time, and that, you know, hopefully we'll be in their lives for forevermore. That's really important.
I think it's important to acknowledge that kind of Sprung Youth is a fee-paying part of our organisation, and that's brilliant, because it obviously takes a lot of investment to run those classes, to, you know, fund the space and the brilliant teachers and practitioners.
4 different classes, each sort of between an hour and a half and 2 hours a week in the space, 2 teachers, you know, all of those first aid courses, those safeguarding courses,
fire warden.
All of those different courses that our leaders have to take and be on top of, and that does take finance.
But it was really important to us that we also found a route to make sure that any young person could take part in Sprung Youth regardless of their economic background. So we also run a bursary scheme, and I think for the Big Give funding campaign, that some of that money will definitely end up funding bursaries, so that young people who couldn't otherwise afford it can have places at Sprung Youth. And we know that Sprung Youth is a place where young people really excel and gain confidence and make friends, and I think it helps to shape and change their lives a lot of the time.
And it's about making their lives better and seeing things from a different perspective. And I think quite often, especially in 2025, where our social media algorithms send us all into our own little silos, that actually Sprung Youth brings a range of different people from different backgrounds together, so that they can realise, those individuals can realise that actually they're not just in that silo, that there are other people in this world with different opinions and different thoughts. And it's a real melting pot of brilliance. Everyone coming from different places, but going towards the same direction. I think that's absolutely amazing.
And we were able to catch up with Colleen, who's one of our associate artists and our learning and participation coordinator. And she's one of our Sprung Youth leaders, and she was able to talk to us a little bit about the difference that those bursaries make. So this is Colleen.
I mean, you just see the way that they light up in the room, and I think having an opportunity to be able to do something, especially because this isn't like a normal youth group, okay, it's a different kind of thing that we do, and I feel that for children and young people who wouldn't have that opportunity except for a donation, it really opens up this whole new world. And you know, the kids are amazing, and they always seem to, even when they're new and they join, we've had a recent young person who's joined one of our groups, and they are just amazing, like the energy they bring in. And I'm like, it's now like, I know I can like rely on that young person and be like, I know you've only been here for like, I don't know, 4 weeks, but here's all these lines and you're going to be able to do those, and then I want you to do this and they're going to do that, and they're with it in stride. And it's because I know that they really want to be there and they enjoy being there, and to have those opportunities for so many young people who wouldn't have that opportunity before, I think is a really, really great position to have, or like, you know, an option that they could do, I think is a really good thing. And it's just great. It's just seeing it.
What impact do you think that will have on that young person's life? I mean, is it a case of just experiencing something, finding a talent, or do you think that investment of, what's it, £80 or whatever it is, that what is that impact on that young person's life?
I mean, it could be anything from an experience, but also it could make them, like being in a session, it's not just about being there and then you leave. There's so many things that we do in sessions where it's confidence building, or it's working with text, and maybe it's just being on stage. Like maybe they just never hadn't been in a position where they've been in front of an audience, or even in a group of young people who are all like-minded, who want to be on stage. And also it might also be a case of meeting young people and they build friendships. That might be the only thing that they take from it. But I think that it's not just about an experience, it's about finding maybe like-minded people that they become friends with over time, or say in school, if they have gotten more confident working with us, then that might impact them in school in terms of their own exams, or even talking to teachers, or even just getting up in class, and if they have to read out a bit of work that they might have to do, they might just find that, oh, actually, yeah, I can do that because I've just done, you know, script work in Sprung, and we've been doing a show, and now I'm really confident that I can pick up that book and just read aloud without worrying. And, you know, we know a lot of young people who have gone through, especially you guys, who now work in crazy jobs and have done loads of different things with their lives. And I do think that going to these sessions was probably a little bit part of the reason of where they've got to now. And I think people don't realise how important the arts are, and especially youth groups like ours, because it really builds foundations. Even if you don't realise it now, who knows, in 5 years' time, someone might come back to, who's left Sprung now, come back in 5 years and goes, I've done this in my life, thank you so much, and it's because you guys gave me the confidence to do it. And that's happened. I believe that's happened to you guys before.
Yeah. And the funding is where it starts.
Yeah, absolutely.
It should be said that Sprung Youth has been going for 21 years, and it is something that we are immensely proud of. It is something that, you know, it fills our batteries, and we're teaching every Thursday night. We absolutely love it.
Wouldn't give it up.
But that impact, I want to know more about that impact. And, you know, we've kept in touch with so many of our former Sprungs, but that just the small time that we have with those young people, what is that impact for the rest of their lives?
Well, brilliantly, when we caught up with Siàn, not only did she talk to us about her role as a grant manager, but she also shared some thoughts about her time at Sprung Youth, so we can hear that now.
Been at Highly Sprung since I was like 4 or 5 until I left for university. So yeah, I mean, Highly Sprung in general had a huge impact on my life and how I navigate tricky situations and how I go into challenge. Like Highly Sprung really taught me a lot of the skills I needed to enter the world. So I'm grateful for that. But it's an interesting question because I think when you are a Sprung, when you are in Sprung Youth, you don't think about funding at all. I think it's something like you just like are like, great, this opportunity, like I'm going to go be a clown over here. That's awesome. I'll go do that. You don't think, oh, there's a rhyme and a reason why this project has come to life. And I think it's just really interesting. And I think that's why I'm very proud that Highly Sprung has a youth board now, because they are bringing that kind of like thought process and decision making through the young people, which is incredible. And so it's a tricky question because I think like funding surely shaped my entire Highly Sprung experience, because you were frontally working behind the scenes, like trying to figure out like, what could we do here? This money, let's do. Oh, we can work with libraries now. Great. So because we've got funding to work with libraries, so now we're all going to be in a library and we're going to be pirates running around. Yay. I think it's really like love it, and it was a great experience. But you never put the two together and I think it's really important for young people to start having to put the two together, because I think it really. One, it changes how you feel about a piece of work, because what a privilege it is to be working with these libraries and running around and showing children that stories are still such an important part of their world, you know. But it also I think it also makes us think a bit more strategically of like how can young people really support Highly Sprung to do the vision that it has, and how can we be a part of the process, and how can our voices shape the work, and how can we support you to think through what the Sprungs want to do. And I think for me, that's why I wanted to join the board, was about how do we really build that bridge, because Highly Sprung does things in a way that is just so magical. And like I think for a long time Highly Sprung held the Sprungs, and I kind of think it's time for the Sprungs to like hold Highly Sprung back a bit and be like, we've got you, because the work you do is incredible, and you build stronger and more confident and creative young people who can go out and take on the world. And like, we need to be shouting about that.
I love hearing about that impact that Highly Sprung has had on Siàn, and you know, she is a creative person.
She is,
and
very.
Not just, you know, so many people think that working in the arts is just performing, and it's so much more than that. And Siàn's a perfect example of someone who has a love for arts, doesn't necessarily see herself on stage performing, especially not as a performer, although she's an amazing singer and musician. But actually, she's allowing other people to try and have that artistic impact that she had through her grant and grant manager role. Yeah.
And we're also going to hear from Kian, who is another Sprung Youth member, and he came through to Sprung Youth from another programme, which we're going to hear about shortly. But Kian is really proud to say that he was a bursary young person. So he was the recipient of a bursary for all the time he was at Sprung Youth, which was 3 years.
Yeah.
And I just want you to just listen to what Kian has to say about the impact of that kind of investment in him as a young person.
He took that investment and literally sprinted with it. And even just talking about it now, it gives me goosebumps. That boy's wonderful.
I feel like, I mean, it's not, you know, government or arts council funding, but I suppose funding in terms of a person giving money for something. I was only able to go to Sprung as a result of a bursary, which came as a result of a very nice collection of people donating and funding the charity. And I feel like, you know, when it boils down to funding, it's just people giving money for something. It's not so scary, because it's actually probably one of the best things that has happened to me in my life. You know, went on a massive journey in the very short time that I was at Sprung, and that sort of just came down to people's generosity and giving nature for a certain thing. So I suppose that is what I would have experienced from a form of funding.
Absolutely.
So listening to this podcast, it would be easy to think that maybe Sprung Youth is like 90% of what we do.
How foolish you would be. We actually did a pie chart to try and work out what percentage of our time and work and energy is Sprung Youth, because it sometimes feels like such an important sort of place.
Well, it is an important place.
It is important, and I think it kind of represents sometimes the end point for people's journey with Sprung, where it's like they might come into seeing a project out on the street, seeing a performance, or they might have a workshop in school. But there are lots of different entry points in, but Sprung Youth might feel like that's the place where they can kind of stay.
That's the deep dive, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's where our young people can come with us every single week and really excel in what they want to do and our way of working.
And we get to know them really, really well. But actually, on the pie chart, we worked out it was only 15% of our time that is kind of invested into Sprung Youth. So although it's really important, there is so much else that we do as Highly Sprung, and so many of those other activities might feed into it, but they are equally as important as standalone projects. And last year we did a project which I think for us felt really new and quite exposing, but was a new way of working with young people, and again is something that we would be absolutely looking to raise funding for and invest in again in the future. So we ran a project called the Anthology Project,
and that comes out of our problem solving kind of thinking, that we see an issue, we see a problem, and we at Highly Sprung want to solve it.
And the problem was
poetry. And GCSE, the poetry anthology.
So many teachers and young people talk to us about the difficulties that they have in kind of feeling like poetry is something that is relevant or interesting or creative. So we've thought, let's run a project where we take a brand new anthology of poems and we turn it into a touring performance with professional performers. But we took it a step further, because we said in order to make sure that that performance that tours to young people across the country is relevant, we need young people to make that show.
Are you suggesting that I could not see what it's like to be a young person in 2025, Sarah?
Yes, but you did help write it. But I think
I helped write it. Yes, thanks.
But I think it was really important that the young people felt that they were really shaping it. So we put together a group called the Co-Creatives Group, and they were a group of 6 brilliant young people who were brought into the rehearsal room, and some of them were on bursaries again to make sure that they had their food and their transport covered and any other kind of costs for them. If they were in college, they might have needed to take time off work, so we were compensating them for that, and that took a lot of funding to organise getting those young people into the room. But then they were positioned as choreographers, co-writers, co-directors, and it was an incredible experience.
So let's hear from Lottie and Sam, who are part of that co-creatives group, and find out what that project was like for them.
Do you want to go first, Sam?
Okay, so we were part of the co-creatives company. So we were young people that helped work with professional artists that were creating a show to be toured around schools, and it had a focus around for GCSE students, so people going through exams. And we came in once a week. It was once a week?
Twice.
Twice a week.
Twice a week, see. It was a while ago, but it was fun. And we just gave young people's perspectives and helped shape the show from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sam's actually said what the project was called. It was Anthology.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot that.
So it was to do with, I think it was to do with the new set of poems that had come out for the poetry anthology.
So you remember what the set of poems was called?
No!
Oh no! It began with. Do you know it?
I'm going to go for Worlds and Lives.
Yeah, I was going to test it.
Yeah, it was Worlds and Lives.
It was Worlds and Lives.
I studied something else. But it was pretty interesting because it was a whole new set of poems to me. Maybe maybe bar one or two, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they were basically all new poems to me. So it was good to go in with like a fresh mindset of like, these are new poems to me, because when you're learning poetry at school, like poetry, English is probably like my least favourite subject. I'm not like a wordy person, so it was like good to go in with like a fresh mindset of like, I'm not being forced to do this, like this is not being jammed down my throat, I'm choosing to do this. Like, it was nice to have that like freedom of like, I know I'm choosing to be here, I'm choosing to do this. And like, I think anthology was just a good opportunity to like see poetry from a different light and stuff like that, and I gained a better appreciation for it, because it was like, I just saw it from a different view than just being like, analyse this.
Especially when you got us to like explore the poem through physicality, and like that definitely helped give like a new perspective and understanding of the poetry. I enjoyed that.
So what kind of roles did you take on during the project? Because you didn't just come in and tell everyone what to do.
No, so I had the role of a bit more of a directing point of view, so I was thinking of it more in that kind of light, especially as it got later on in the rehearsal process and the show was developing, and I loved coming back each week, or each time we came back, and seeing how and seeing how it had developed since the last time I was there, and then giving notes and feedback, and then seeing that implemented the next time we were there. It was really something special.
I think like, I looked at the slightly technical side of it, but I just enjoyed seeing the show develop, like, and see how it goes behind the scenes, because apart from the shows I've made like in like Sprung Youth, spoilers, apart from the shows I've made in Sprung Youth, like, you never see a show being developed, you never see the direction and the production and Mark writing it. Like, I got to see some of the creative process of actually it being written.
I know, I was going to come back to who did you get to work with?
Jasmine Gardozzi,
who
was the Birmingham Poet Laureate and is now moving on to much bigger things by the looks of her socials.
And what was that experience like, working with a Poet Laureate?
It was really interesting, actually, and it was nice to see them, Mark and her, working so closely together to create the script, and the script wasn't just a script, but the way they like wrote poetry and incorporated movement with words, with normal speaking and then poetry. It was really nice to see get it developed and have an input on it as well.
Am I right in thinking that actually, Mark, you coached the group of young co-creatives to actually write a section of the performance?
Yes, we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
I can't remember what poem was it. It was
Louis'
Tell Your
one.
Face.
Yeah, Tell Your Face.
Whenever people say tell your face now, I just think like, tell your face.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I hear it in daily life.
Yeah. Tell your face.
Tell your face.
So it came at a point where Louis' character, I should say, was being asked to be something that he didn't feel comfortable with, and it tackled into that whole toxic masculinity and people demanding something of him as a young man. And we spoke about that, and actually a lot of those words and a lot of the sentences and phrases within that poetry and spoken word came out of your pens, which was really exciting.
And I think, Lottie, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I think at the time that might have felt like one of the most challenging aspects of the project for you.
Yeah, like, I'm just not one with words. I never am. Like, writing an application for anything, doing like English, anything like that, I'm not a wordsy person. So it was a lot, not like pressure, but it felt like a lot of pressure, but you created like such a good environment for me to do it that, like, when I went in, I was like, especially doing it with Birmingham's Poet Laureate, I was like, this is a lot of pressure, but it was like, it was fine.
But I mean,
lots of Lottie's words ended up like word for word.
I'm going to be honest. You're right. There wasn't much on that page, but what was on that page was golden, and it was beautiful.
It was lovely.
And what did that feel like, being able to see your words up on stage, knowing that you have that, I don't want to say barrier, but that struggle with that sort of English, if you like?
It was just like different.
Yeah.
Because you never see like your words on anything.
Yeah. I hope you feel proud, because you smashed it out of the park. I'm really, really proud of you. Yeah.
And that poem was definitely one of my favourite moments in the performance. So
it was a lot of you as well. It wasn't just.
I
not
think
just me,
it
like,
was
everyone.
all Lottie. It was everyone that was a part of the co-creatives. All helped, and I remember we were having some really great conversations as a group about everyone's different perspectives on like masking and having to at times be or do things that you don't really feel like is you. And it was interesting to have so many different people resonate with such a similar feeling, and then to visualize that through the performance. It was quite incredible to watch.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was nice to see like different perspectives, because especially Sam, you brought it from like a male perspective, like, which is kind of how it was coming from within the actual show, but like we were thinking of it from just our perspectives, but it was so great to just like meet new people and just see everyone's different perspectives.
Told you it was a good project. Well, you were there. I was there.
I was there. We were both there, and it was lovely working with just all of the co-creatives, and the project they created really spoke to the young people. And what was fascinating was watching the teachers realise, as sort of they were watching the kids watching us. Sounds like a Blur song.
Sounds a bit like a Black Mirror.
But I'm realising that this piece of theatre really spoke to those kids, and no one thought a piece about the poetry anthology would be exciting in any way.
And some of the money that we're raising through the Big Give, we're hoping will invest in helping to take Simile on tour. So it'll be on tour next autumn. So if you haven't seen it, you'll have a chance to see it then, which is exciting.
But the co-creatives group, or the CCG, wasn't the first time that we'd worked with young people and tried to get them involved with almost producing. So do you want to tell us about that?
We had an actual producers group. So we're actually entering into our 5th year of our Coventry Young Producers Collective. So it's a very local project where we're inviting young people from Coventry to work with us to produce our physical fellowship festival each year. So I think got to a point where we really wanted young people to have an opportunity to help shape what that festival would look like. It's a festival that invites about 400 young people from schools across Coventry, Warwickshire and the wider area each year. And it felt really important that if we're doing a festival of physical theatre for young people should be involved in shaping what that looks like. So that's kind of how Coventry Young Producers evolved, and we will be running that again. We've got another 3 years worth of that programme. But we were able to catch up a little bit about the Coventry Young Producers Collective with Kian and Eve,
who were on the original project.
The first ever programme. Yeah, to hear what that experience was like for them and how they helped to actually shape professional work.
But also what they've gone on to do from that as well.
It's exciting.
So let's hear what Kian and Eve had to say about being part of the Coventry Young Producers Collective.
That was very official.
It's the longest title ever. It's what happens when Sarah has a chance to come up with a title.
Okay, so just chilling in my drama lessons really, and Mr. Newgold, I love that guy. He pulls me aside with a bunch of my other classmates, and he goes, "We've got this cool opportunity for you. Do you want to do it? I'm not going to tell you what it is first, just go for it." So we're like, yeah, sure. And he introduces us to this idea of the Coventry Young Producers Collective in association with Highly Sprung Performance. Never heard of this company in my life, so I'm not going to lie, but I'll do it. And Coventry Young Producers Collective, we later found out, was a group of 20 odd.
There was about your cohort.
Like 20 young people coming together to be producers on the Physical Fellowship, an event which, very popular at Sprung. But that festival is, like a collaboration of how many schools? 18?
About 13 schools a year.
13 schools.
15 this year.
And our job was to kind of come up with the ideas, talk to professionals, and curate this event for ourselves, the young people putting on the shows and those coming to watch it.
And you did a very good job. I think it was 2021, because in 2020 we didn't have Physical Fellowship. We did an online physical fellowship. So you must have been 2021 when we went back into the theatre and we were all wearing masks.
Yes.
Yeah, so your journey started as young producers and you were introduced. Was it similar for you, Eve? Were you introduced through a teacher at school?
Yeah, but it was different for me because my teacher went, right, you're really quiet and you want to stay backstage. And I don't think you should be doing that. I think you should be using your voice and using your ideas because they're not too bad. So I think you should have some faith and do this thing. And she told me about it and I went, that sounds so cool. And I went, all right, then I'll do it. I'll give it a go. And the world opened up into the world of the Coventry Young Producers Collective and all the like-minded creatives that we met.
You know, we're in a position right now, we're running this special because we want to try and ask donors to donate so we can run projects like CYP in the future. And it'd be really useful to kind of hear from you, Eve, what the impact of that funding kind of has done for you.
Well, I will forever quote one of the last things that Mark ever said when I became an ex-Sprung and not a Sprung anymore. Once a Sprung, always a Sprung. And it was, you know, you were very shy and it was always, is this okay, Mark and Sarah? Can I do this, Mark and Sarah? And it was through something like the CYPC that has allowed me to sit here now doing what I'm doing at the minute, because it took me from someone who was quite tentative to speak up and tentative to share her ideas through that process and through being able to do that process and going, no, I think this should be said, or I think this should be done, or maybe the logo should look like this, or we could put that on the social media and that'll get people to come and see the show or to come and engage in the festival. Like it brought out this inner confidence in me, and I don't think I would be sat here doing what I'm doing now, you know, going to drama school, performing, excelling in the creativity that I have, if it wasn't for CYPC, because I still would be in that sort of shell of, I'm not too sure, I'm just going to stay where's comfortable. But the CYPC encouraged me to go, well, what happens if I don't?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. It makes you realise why we do what we do. So I want you to kind of explain to everyone, Sarah, why do you do what you do?
I think this is probably really connected into funding, because there are days when you're getting those rejections from funders and it feels really hard, because it feels like it's not just a rejection from you, it's a rejection from all of the young people that you knew might have benefited from that project, and a kind of a little part of you gets a bit injured by it because you're like, this project was going to be so good and now I might have to go on a different route and use my creativity.
It's relentless though, isn't it?
So it's really important for me that I always keep returning to that question of, why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? And I am the kind of person, I don't know whether I'm overly emotional, but I will sit in an auditorium or in a classroom and I give myself a chance to kind of like have that moment to see the work of the young people, and I am never, ever disappointed in the absolute creativity, joy, life-enhancing brilliance of young people when they come together through physical theatre.
Yeah.
And I feel like magic happens, and it's so special. So there are those big moments where I'm like, God, I'm so proud of what these young people have achieved, because they are so determined and ambitious. And, you know, when you help to shape the energy that they have, it's just amazing. But there are also then those really small moments where you know you've had a conversation with someone, or you've told someone, yeah, you can do this. And they've come in going, I will never be able to do that. And through a workshop, you've seen that change. Or you've seen a family come into one of our community days who are a bit like, what is this? And they stay for the whole day because they just love it. All of those moments kind of add up and become a sum where the total is much bigger than all of the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I lean into, and I lean into it because I know that this work makes people's lives better.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah. You feel it as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's emotional. And we're allowed to be emotional, and that's really important, you know. Trying to find my why is, you know, I am a neurodiverse man, and someone who always struggled at school, struggled to fit in, struggled to do the right thing or be the right person. And when I was 16, I got to work with a theatre company, and they changed my life. And I remember, I do remember just laying on my front and just going, whoa, what am I going to do? And then the director came over and went, that's a great idea. That could be the beginning of the river, as we're doing this story of the river. And I just remember thinking, cool. Okay, I'll go with that. And realising that actually my energy and my difference within sort of normal, in inverted commas, was actually to be celebrated, and that creativity. And there are so many other young people like me, and there are so many other young people who are not like me in any way, but struggle to fit in. Mm-hmm. And I think that the way that you spoke about physical theatre, and it's really important that we talk about the medium of our creativity. Mm-hmm. Our physical, maybe physical should be an F for our F in creativity.
Physical.
Physical. But theatre with an F as well.
Theatre.
But actually, it's accessible.
Yeah.
It's not elitist. And I can go to, those straight plays and go and see all of that. And you have
put on a posh accent.
Well, yeah, that's how I feel.
How you feel.
But it's elitist.
Yeah.
It stops kids being able to express themselves and be themselves, and they have to fit the right mould. And, I see it. I see it in dance as well quite a lot of the time.
So what is your why?
My why is about accessibility. Mm-hmm. And my way of thinking about creativity is allowing that accessibility. Physical theatre allows us to, anyone can do it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. You can speak or you can not speak. You can move or not move, actually. It doesn't matter. But the way that we work, it's about meeting those young people where they are.
Yeah.
And giving them a place to thrive, giving them a place that is safe, that is accessible, and giving them opportunities to do things that they would never have thought was possible. Yeah. Whether it's parading as part of the Queen's Jubilee with the corgis, whether it is performing dressed up as a clown, there are so many different opportunities. And I think what's important is that we are able to listen to those young people and find out what the impact of Sprung, and also any funding that we can raise through Big Give, what that impact would have on them.
So it feels fitting then to finish by sharing just a few more voices. So we're going to hear again from Sam and Lottie about the anthology project and how they were able to take skills that they learnt there and how they've used them in other parts of their lives. We're also going to hear back from Colleen, because she has seen firsthand how lives change. And then brilliantly, we did a quick project with our Sprung Youth where they had the opportunity to tell us what funding for Sprung means for them. So we're going to finish by handing over to those brilliant young people.
And those people who will benefit from any funding.
And we're going to just say one more time, if you can, please donate as part of the Big Give, because every donation we receive will be doubled, and that means so much to us. And if you can't donate now, you can donate in the future. We'll never say no. And if you know anyone who's really, really rich, give them our number. Give me a call on the rock phone.
Okay, we're going to a dark place here. So.
Let's finish with these beautiful voices. Thank you, and see you next time on Where's the Effing Creativity?
He's going to look for what other transferable skills that funding has allowed you to gain. So it's not just those skills that you're going to use in that art sector or whatever it is, but what else have you gained from that funding of the anthology project?
I think it's developed kind of my teamwork. Like, I feel like every project I do with Sprung, it develops my teamwork, because you have to work with other people. Like, you can't do everything on your own. But it's developed, like, also meeting new people, because there were new people. Like, I know Sam, but I was working with new people, and also new, like, adults and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it improved, like, my confidence of just coming into, like, it was a professional environment, really, and just having the confidence to put my word in, even though I'm just 17.
So would you agree that actually seeing the impact of that funding means that you're seeing a young person's life change.
Absolutely. Like, I completely. I think having that funding there to be able to even be an option for young people can completely change a young person's life. In all groups across the whole of Sprung Youth, from Stars up to Advanced Plus, we've seen kids change, and we've seen them kind of develop and evolve and get more bold and playful and all that sort of stuff. And it's happening right in front of you. And whether you see it in that moment, you might not go, oh, every session, that changed. But kids I've worked with from Stars now in launch, the difference is insane. And especially then talking to parents outside of it as well, and kind of them talking to us about how it's helped them in their school life or in their friends' life and all this sort of stuff. It's so obvious a change that without this funding, or any funding really, you know, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do that. And I think it's a really great thing to have, and it's always really heartwarming to like see it as well, especially when you actually take the moment to go, oh, actually, if I really look at it, this has happened, and then now they're here, and it's like, how have we managed to get here, and in such a short amount of time as well? It's crazy.
Hello, my name's William. I've been going to Sprung since I was about 5. I think it's the most amazing opportunity for anyone to try. It's given me so much more confidence. I've used it in every single one of my job interviews, and I now have a job, so I can't fault that. It's given me a lot of confidence in myself when I was going through times when I didn't think I had anyone else. And I think Sprung has been the one thing in my life when everything else has fallen apart. It's been a very consistent thing where I get to come and see everybody here, and yeah, it's really nice to be around with other people.
And I love Highly Sprung because it's a community of people who love getting together and acting, and I think you should donate to Highly Sprung to encourage this safe space for young people and to help it grow.
It's like a space where you can be with friends. It's not all about being in a theatre and just playing around. It's more about making friendships and...
Hi, my name's Ruby, and I love Sprung because of the feeling of community it gives to me, and I think you should donate to Highly Sprung to give other young people that opportunity.
I like Highly Sprung because it's very imaginative. You can bring out your creation in it. You're not confined, you're not held back. You just have to be like you, to just like be yourself.
Hello, my name is Ollie. I love Sprung because it gives me freedom, and you should donate to Sprung because other people like me get to enjoy it just as much.
Hi, my name is Vicky, and I love Sprung because of the impact it has on the community, Sprung Youth, and just the world, in my opinion. And I think you should donate so that they can keep on making massive impacts on the world.
To be honest, I quite like how it's not just lines. It's actually just like moving. Because not everyone really gets an opportunity to do dancing and stuff.
A reason you should donate to Sprung: there are a bunch of amazing people, and just because I'm coming here and I'm paying to be here, we want to give that opportunity to other people that might not be able to do that. And I think it'd be a great thing for more people to try this, because it's the most amazing thing in the world. Please come try.
It really brings the good out of you, so I think you should donate to Highly Sprung because they're really good people.
If you've enjoyed listening to this episode of Where's the F in Creativity Funding Special, you can head over to the Big Give campaign and search up Highly Sprung's Big Give campaign, Reaching Further, Welcoming More, where you can click to donate any amount to help us double your donation and reach our target so that we can make sure more young people have inspiring opportunities just like the ones you've heard about today. Thank you.
Where's the F in creativity?